What's up, good people? It's your boy Leroy McKenzie Jr. coming to you, the Impact Builder. It's the Author Showcase brought to you by the National Black Community News and JNF Enterprises, where we bring you national authors to showcase them, their mission, the message, the movement, and the motivation for what it is that they do in their words, in their books, and magazines and all other aspects of writing. So we want to thank you for tuning in today. We have just a great showcase for you this evening. Have a guest that you can see. We'll be introducing him in just a couple of seconds, but we just want to thank y'all for tuning in. We want to let you all know that you can go to the nationalblacunitynews.com to subscribe to the newspaper and get your current issue, which is now out. You can go to the website and subscribe, and then you can also check out our National Black Unity News Facebook page and social media platforms, and as well you can go onto our YouTube channel, which is under the National Black Unity News, and you can actually watch other showcase authors that we have in addition to the showcase that we have here, and introducing our guest, Mr. King Teasdell, who we'll be talking with in just a second. So we want to thank y'all for tuning in. It's the National Black Unity News, JNF Enterprises, the Authors Showcase. So we thank you for tuning in today. And I want to say hello and good evening to our guest, Mr. King Teasdale. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Blessed and grateful to be here. Oftentimes I tell people I am blessed and highly flavored.
I like that. I like that. Got the flavor. I always tell, and I always think about that too. I said it's the one thing that folks may want, but they can't get. You can't duplicate that melanin. So
Yes,
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
true.
So I want to thank you for joining us on the showcase this evening, and coming in to give us some of your wisdom, your knowledge, your information, and all of those things that have to do with your message that you are not only spreading with the books, but also just in your words and everything like that. Because I tell people with this author showcase, it's given me the ability and the opportunity to be able to talk to authors, national authors from all over the place. But each of you has a story that is just phenomenal. Each of you have a message that is different, but at the same time, all impactful in what you all say and what you all deliver to people. And this, with this platform, it's giving, I think, the viewers an inside backstage, if you will, to the authors. And it's more than just about the book. It's more than just about, the newspaper. It is about the message that you all carry and the backstory. So they get to know a little bit more about you all when they go to purchase the books that they have from you, because they'll know a little more about the story within the story of the book and everything like that. And I think that always bodes well for people, because they get to know a little bit more about us and the things that we do, why we do it, how we share it, and all of those things. So I appreciate you coming onto the platform and sharing your message with us this evening.
Thank you. It's my honor.
Absolutely. And let's start off, and I usually start off this way, is by having the authors tell us a little bit about who they are. So can you tell us just a little bit about who King Teasdale is?
Well, born here in Baltimore City. I am born and raised here, born in 1956. But I am a seeker of wisdom, knowledge, and the hidden meaning of life.
Mm,
I enjoyed puzzles all day until some nonsense puzzle came up called the Rubik's Cube. Man, that kicked me out the box. I was like, nah, I don't have time to be putting my energy in this thing when life itself seems to be the greatest puzzle. So I
mm,
began devoting myself to better understanding life. And I found that there was more, far much more, to life's energy, commonly known as God, than
Mm-hmm.
anyone could possibly explain to me. So, on my journey in that discovery, after the first significant death in my family that was seriously impactful to me, the death of my grandmother, I started to come to ask questions of God and what this world was all about. And in the process thereof, I became a research assistant, a science major, and an advanced cardiac um, support team member, which led me to become a paramedic with the Baltimore City Fire Department. And in so doing, I created an organization called the Souls of Life Society. That's SOULS, Souls of Life Society, um, which I'm the founder and vessel of.
Mm-hmm.
And the organization is designed because I needed to find the commonality of all of mankind. And I find that that is life and love because everybody's seeking that. So our motto is through the power bestowed by God and mankind, to do it must be done. And our mission is to harmonize the unity needed for Black organizations to thrive so that humanity can survive.
Wow, that's actually powerful. Very, very, very powerful. Um, what got you started writing? What made you? Was it you starting to ask them questions of yourself? And was that what got you started writing? What was it that prompted you to say? What was it that the light bulb went off and said, "Wow, I had not only do you have something to say, but you wanted to um, put it into a book."
Well, what I've discovered is we are, all of us really, we're here to share.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the reason why we have this interrelationship with everyone. And I started asking, as I was speaking previously, I started asking God questions because I needed answers that I was not getting from those who I thought may have known something. And so I started reading the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
and I became a bit frustrated a couple of times because when I got to the place where it started talking about the begot this, the begot that, the begot, I was like, come on, man, I can't deal with this. And then I started reading a section to where it was talking about some sort of history, which I could not really grasp. But what caught me was the book of um, Ecclesiastes, and that's the book of wisdom. And then the Proverbs. And then it was like I fell into this deep hole of understanding more of what was going on. And the answers that I was asking started coming to me. And as I walked down the street, I had an experience to where I was asking, well, what's going on with this thing between peace and war? Is which one is more powerful with what's going on with this? And walking down the street, it was a windy day. The wind was blowing, and a paper landed on my leg as I was walking forward. That kind of, you know how the wind blows and it hits you hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that piece of paper was against my leg. I reached down to pick the piece of paper up and I looked on the paper and it was an article talking about peace and war.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. So I continued going forward in life's journey. And as I started asking questions of God, I started getting answers that I could actually feel coming through me.
Mm-hmm.
And in that feeling the answers coming through me, I started writing these things down. So I got to a place to where I was hit with words that could come to me. And I look at a word and I can take the word and expand upon the word. And it was though the words that came to me was coming through me to describe what this word was. And I was astonished. So writing started on its own for me because one, I didn't like reading when I was in school.
Mm,
And two, I didn't like writing when I was in school. And three, I didn't like arithmetic when I was in school. And so I stayed in school and I didn't like these things. But
mm-hmm,
oddly enough, they came after me and it in turn caused me to become a writer. And I started writing on all sorts of things to better come to an understanding of life. And when I discovered that poetry would come through me, it was like a gift. I then discovered that I wanted to help the world through the Souls of Life Society, that I needed to write the thoughts that was coming to me from that. And then I came into a situation to where in my first marriage, um, the walls started tumbling down. And the pain and the frustration of that was of such a degree to where I had to write out my emotions instead of acting out those emotions because some of those emotions was too violent to be expressed physically. But I was able to find a calm from allowing writing to be an outlet. So years later, after the divorce, I came to get rid of everything that I had. And I was at my parents' home and they had a room available for me. And I went down in the basement to go through some of my stuff and not knowing what I was going to find. And I came across some of my writing
mm,
and I started reading it. And I got caught up in the basement for over 2 hours reading the stuff that I wrote because I was saying, who wrote this stuff?
mm.
And it dawned on me that this stuff shouldn't be in the basement. I need to get this out to the world. And that's how I ended up becoming what what King Arthur.
Wow, and that's a great story, and a lot of us, because I know when I first started writing, it was just to write to be writing to get some stuff out of my head and everything like that. Because I started writing poetry in the beginning and didn't think of it of putting it in a book at that time, and then several years later, um, having some people tell me, man, you should put this into a book, and not realizing or even thinking of it at the time. I was just writing to be writing. Is that what you found yourself doing with the writing that you found when you wrote it? It was just writing just to kind of get some get some things out of your head and get them, just get your thoughts out into the atmosphere.
It for me was more information that came through me. Um, I think it started with poetry for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Out of my book, Extraordinary Epiphanies of a King, I'll read real quick
Mm-hmm.
a snippet of what happened. Inside of this book, I have a table of recall, and the table of recall says, and this is something that was written in 1989. It says a friend of mine came to me, and she said, um, "If you can write words that come to you, what if I told you the word shadows?" And so I was like, "Wow!" And the poem goes as follows. It says, shadows of this and shadows of that are not images. This makes no sense. Understanding flees the consciousness of mind. Frustration strangles all that's left behind. Existence ever changing, as do the shadows of the mind, shadows ever changing as the sun and moon does shine. The rays of light directly shows the outline of what is. The light reflecting indirectly moves silently through the entrances of time. That was the first poem that came to me, just from a friend of mine while I was working in the fire department, brought that to me. And in my recall, I have reflecting upon my life and all that has been. What is becoming of me? Time does not stop, and all that has been are only shadows of what used to be. I used to be a bachelor just 3 years ago. Now I am married with a new baby. All my friends of before are gone, and all my relationships with everything are different. I pray I have not chosen the counterfeit over that which is real. And so that's what happens with this particular book, the Extraordinary Epiphanies of a King. And that's just a snippet of what my experience was, just as material just seemed to just download itself in me. And next thing I knew, pen in hand, I started writing on the walls. I started writing on a piece of paper. I started writing. It was like at the back of an envelope. If I could find some ink and some writing surface,
Mm-hmm.
I was off to the races.
Wow. Wow, wow. And I think those of us who are authors understand that very thing because you never know when you're going to be inspired or something that is going to catch your attention or something comes to you that you want to write about. And I call it, I always say, I have a book of notes, which is just nothing but me writing down something, whatever it is that I may need. It might be a poem or a title to a poem. It may be some notes for my business or anything like that. But anything that I can think of, that I think about, that I know that I'm going to either need to come back to later or that I want to use for something, I write it down, and I'm talking literally having it right at my side when I'm sleeping because
Yes, yes,
I may wake up with that with something on my mind because I literally had one of my poems. I had a dream about it was a dream about a woman singing on at my church's stage. She was on the stage in the pulpit singing this song, but it was a poem. And so woke up in the morning. I mean, woke up that night in the middle of the night, it's about 4 o'clock in the morning. Wake up, didn't think anything of it. Tried to go back to sleep. It would not let me go back to sleep until I wrote that poem that night. It literally,
wow,
I was like, I've got to get up and write this because this is not going to let me go. And I know
that's right,
when you get it like that, it's not going to let you go until it comes out of you. It literally has to
that's
come
right.
out of you. You know,
So
so
true.
yeah. Now I appreciate that. Now my next question for you is your the book that the latest book that you have out, the Power of Choice. Is that your well, I should say latest. Is that your first book or is that one of several books that you've written or been a part of?
That is actually one of several books I have written,
Okay.
but it is the second book that I have published. This book, The Power of Choice, is an ebook right now,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and it's an excerpt of the larger book. It comes in two parts. So the ebook is the beginning aspect of the remainder of the book,
Mm-hmm.
and that book is available on Amazon.
Okay. No, absolutely. Okay, that's great. And we'll actually have. I want you to give all of your information for where people will be able to purchase that book and all of your other books that you have too. And we'll do that. I like to do. Well, you can do it now, and then we'll do it again at the end too. Okay. because I want to make sure that people have
Okay.
it. Yeah.
The website is www.kingsphilosophy.org. You type that in, and both books are available on that web page, and that web page will direct you to the Souls of Life Society. And you click the section that speaks of books, and you scroll through that, and that'll bring you to um, how you get to those books itself.
Okay. No, that's great. That's great. Now, can you tell me what has been the toughest aspect of writing for you? What was that? What's been that toughest thing that you saying about writing that you might not have thought about, that you kind of caught you, it kind of caught you by surprise when it came to writing.
Well, for me, maintaining focus is my biggest issue
Mm,
because um, I'm so caught up in life. I have to create the time and space to do the writing. I'm pretty much my own mechanic. I'm my own plumber. I'm my own carpenter. my own landscape artist. I'm my own electrician, and I share these um, minor gifts I have with my family and the activities of the church and the community, and studying and investing in myself just seems to, I want to say, consume my time, but what I've discovered is teaching me that I have to better manage my time. But that's the hardest aspect of writing, managing time to make it happen.
mm,
Because that's the key. You got to make writing happen. But the key is to do it. Just do it. Just like Nike say, just do it. Just
mm,
grab a pen and put it in your hand. And what's funny for me is writing seems like it has to come through my hand first before I go to a computer. I don't
mm,
understand that. Right now, that's where my head is. I
mm.
have to use a pen in my hand and I have to scribble. It's like I got to scribble. It's not, I can't just go to the computer and just start typing it out. It just don't seem right. And maybe that I might be wired different. I don't know, but I need help here.
Well, I know that there are
You
other
know,
authors
it,
that
it,
that
it would
work
be so
that
much,
same way
I
too.
guess, more efficient.
Mhm.
Really? Okay. Yeah. It's like my one of my biggest challenges right now is to stop and just get in front of the computer and get myself acclimated to allowing the material to come through me
Mm.
into this device. And I would probably save a whole lot of time doing that alone.
But I think that, but I also think too that as authors, we find our own rhythm, if that makes any sense to you. We found our own rhythm, and what kind of works for us to be able to get that, what I call going from bringing a vision to reality, and that is having the thought
Okay.
to the actual, okay, I have this thought, how do I conceptualize it, and then how do I bring it to reality, how do I bring that vision that I had to reality? That's a process, and each of us has our own way of processing that. And like you said, some are, I'm quite sure that go from the thought to writing it, to actually then putting it into, into a device, or putting it into a computer or laptop or whatever, and then manufacturing it into the book format and everything like that. And there are some of us that say, hey, you know what, I have the thought. While I have the thought, let me just go ahead and I can use the computer and put it in there as well. And while I'm doing that, then I move to that. because I did that too. Honestly, when I first started writing, I had to write it down first. I wrote it and then would go to
Okay.
the it would go to the computer to do it as well. So that's that. Trust me, that there's nothing that I have I've seen that before, and there's still authors that do that work that kind of process because it works for you. And if it works for you, then that's what you do,
Okay.
and everything like that. Now, like you said, now I think the important thing is, like you said, is time. Now, if you are working with time, you have to understand, hey, it's going to take me a little longer, so I have to start earlier to do what I do, so that I make sure that I'm on time with the projects that I do and everything like that. So, but that's for those authors or aspiring authors that may be listening. You find your rhythm. You find whatever rhythm works for you to be able to bring that vision to reality for you, because what works for one doesn't necessarily work for others. You know what I mean? So I think when we find out when we each of us find our rhythm and what works for us, I think that makes us the most productive. That makes us the most um, energetic. If that gives us the most energy to be able to complete what it is that we're trying to complete and everything like that. And that way you're not feeling as if you are being pressured. You're not forced to try and come up with something, or I gotta write this and I gotta write it this way. Then it's not going to happen, or it doesn't happen and everything. So you know, I think that
Right.
that's.
Because I've never had the problem of writing because, I mean, truth be told, if I go through my house right now, I would say that everything that I have written over the years, which is interesting because God will put in you your purpose, and it's trying to get out.
Hmm.
When you're a writer, what's happening is that purpose is finding its way to the surface.
Hmm.
There's a poem I wrote years ago called Handwriting on the Wall.
Mm.
And what that poem describes is how children, when they find a writing instrument, they seem to want to scribble, and they scribble on anything that they make a mark on.
Hmm.
And we come along not knowing that we are a part of a limiting factor to this child, where this child could actually be receiving something from on high and trying to do what it can to transfer that message. And knowing that he's got something that can make a mark, he's trying to get the message out to
Yeah.
us. And that's what's happening with us, so I believe. And because the parent comes along and say, you can start hollering, "What are you writing on my wall for?" And you scare the child's like, "Oh, what's going on?" Right? And so then there's so many of us that have stuff that's bottled up inside of us.
Mm.
So I would say that if truth be told, the material that I have written would probably stand 5 feet tall. But through that stuff, I've discovered that I've been rewriting a lot of stuff over and over and over again because I haven't gotten it out to the masses yet.
Hmm.
And Spirit is guiding me to make that happen.
Mm. 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 And honestly, that's the way that it works to me, because, like you said, it's God not working, not pouring something just into us, but it's Him pouring something that's supposed to flow through us. It comes into us, but it is supposed to flow out of us, because it's not meant. I always tell people, and what I've come to realize, it's not for us. None of this, the writing, it has nothing to do with us. It's for those who it's meant to receive it once we put it out there. You know. So, what's
I
been
agree.
yeah, what's been the greatest thing about writing and being an author that you found?
Well, the ability to share my love of life and wisdom with people from every sector of life.
Mm.
I am one who believes that we all come from one source.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
from energy, we are. and to energy we shall return when we depart from this which returns to dust.
Hmm.
I use that as my mantra, if you will, when I begin a libation process. The opportunity to share, I think, is a gift in and of itself to communicate. And I think that's one of the greatest things about writing. I think that the opportunity to come on shows such as the National Black Network, the National Black Unity News, is a great thing. There's a show called The Love Journey that's in Chicago.
Hmm.
I was blessed to become uh, a speaker on their program. A guy by the name of Jerry Royce
Hmm.
has the Positive Power Radio,
Yes.
and I've been on his show, and I've actually created my own podcast on the Divine Inspiration Network
Okay.
called King's Philosophy is Love. And those things are the great things about writing. It allows you to put these thoughts down on paper so that they don't get lost,
Right.
and you can get to share these materials with people as God directs it to happen, because you never can force anything down anybody's throat.
Hmm.
So I got to do my part. And when it comes to marketing and things of that nature, I keep my prayers in and do the work of investing in myself so that I can get that stuff out to people. Because what they say, uh, a lamp um, on a hill shines its light, but a lamp that's hidden from everybody, how can you see the light?
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Now, the title of your latest book is the power of choice, path of divine royalty to conquer darkness. What's the message that you want the reader to come away with from your book when they read that when they read the book? What do you want them to come away with? What do you want the reader to come away
Well, the one most important thing I want in the world is for more people to love each other more.
with?
When I assessed my greatest desire, that is it. I want more people to love each other more. We either choose to love or we don't. It's that powerful. Of life, the two most important things to nearly everyone is life and love, because one without the other makes life miserable.
Mm.
We are here on this planet for one thing, and that is to choose to live in love or to live in fear. And that's what this book is about, recognizing that we all have, uh, it's either going to be this or it's going to be that. There's no in between.
Mm.
You're either going to be servant to the creator or you're going to be servant to the destroyer. And you will serve one or the other, whether you think you are or not. It's going to happen. You will be deceived to serve the destroyer if you are not serving the creator. It's by default, if no other reason. But you have been given the choice to serve. You have been given the choice to serve through love. If you are not loving, then you are not serving. And if you are not serving, then you are not loving.
Wow, I like that. I like that. And there's no lukewarm. There's absolutely no lukewarm. But I like that. And my one of my cousins, she has this saying: treat each other better. We have to treat each other better, and that's in,
Definitely.
like you said, in that loving. Because when you do love, when we do love one another, we treat each other better. We treat each other, if
Yes.
at minimum, we treat each other as human beings. You know, we,
Yes. And people don't recognize that, uh, th- th- I'm going to jump. I'm going to jump in this thing real quick, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have a story that I'm working to compose, and it came through reading the Bible. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but the Bible is a living document. It is not just a book. There is an energy vibration that transcends the consciousness of average thinking when you tap into the spirit of truth. So I came across a section in Revelations that spoke about a war in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of shocked because everybody talks about going to heaven. But then I get to the back of the book and there's this war. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, wait a minute.
All right.
Something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I said earlier, I pray to get answers.
Mm-hmm.
One time I had prayed to carry a sign at a protest. And I asked, I said, it was about police brutality. And I said, what do I need that's simple, to the point, that I could write on a sign that people would understand? And what came to me was respect cancels regret. I was like, wow, that's powerful. Thanks. I wrote that on a sign and I've been carrying that sign ever since. The aspect of this story about this war in heaven, it said that a third of the heavenly host was cast out of heaven along with an archangel who was known as Lucifer, who we know as the devil.
Mm-hmm.
So he had charge over a third of the heavenly host.
Right.
And the archangel Michael, who was a chief angel, won that battle. But he won that battle. But there's a difference between a battle and a war.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. So I was thinking, contemplating on that. And then I came across Genesis, and it said, in the beginning, God created heaven, the heavens, which was plural, and the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. And then it says, and the earth was without form, and darkness covered the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the waters. And then God said, let there be light. And I was like blown away because I was like, wait a minute, this isn't even two, three sentences. And we got the whole thing of the cosmos right here. God created the heavens, which is plural, and the earth. And that's the cosmos. Boom. All of that. I was like, wow. And then it says, darkness covered the surface of the deep. Now that blew me away because when you plant a seed, you plant the seed in the surface, and the surface has to be that which is in the darkness. And in the darkness, the seed must germinate to become what it needs to become by coming out of the darkness. So I was like, wow. But then it said the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the waters. And I was like, why would you hover over something if you're not guarding something?
Mm-hmm.
Then what clicked was those angels that was under the authority of the opposing forces to God did not belong to the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing belongs to the devil.
Right.
Everything belongs to God. So the devil stole, in essence, the power, the control over that which belongs to God. And Christ, we know that reckless love aspect came to receive us back to heaven. That's how everything kind of fell into place for me. And I'm working to bring the clarity to that because that's going to blow a lot of people's minds because they got a lot of concepts about, well, they say that the devil, those who fell into rebellion, was cast into the lake of fire and all. I said, but you're not reading the scripture in detail. You got to look at what you see and see what's being said. So that's the darkness we're talking about because we don't know how long the darkness has been. And when we look at the conditioned consciousness of man,
Mm-hmm.
man is conditioned to fear.
Mm-hmm.
So in the darkness, what comes to me is that man, that primordial energy of the earth is the primordial energy of the earth. The spiritual DNA itself is still residing within us. That fear factor is still residing inside of us. So when the light came to free us from that fear, from that darkness, we are so conditioned to the darkness to where we have all of this madness still going on this planet. But yet, we are so afraid to step into what God has for us because we're conditioned to the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And we're afraid to move because the darkness probably whipped our tail while we was in that darkness, while the Lord hovered over the waters. That's just how it came to me. And so all of that is involved in this thing of to conquer darkness. Because the only way to conquer darkness is by identifying that love is the cure.
Now, is that part of how you came up with the title? How did you come up with that title,
Yes,
the full title, The Power of Truth?
yes, that's it. Because you see, we have to choose either love or fear.
Mm-hmm.
We have to choose to accept either the creator or the destroyer. We have the power to choose between the two, where before there was no power. You see, that casting out from of heaven, when we look at all of creation, the earth, the sun, the stars, the moon, they all are set on a trajectory
Mm-hmm.
and they have to follow the divine order that is there. The only thing that has the power of choice in this all of creation is man. And why does man have that power of choice? Because he has to choose between accepting God or rejecting God. So if you want to continue to stay with the rebellion, God has given you that opportunity to do so. And then you can stay with the darkness. But he has sent the light, which is Christ, for us to have the opportunity to return back to the light because we all are light beings in the depths of our soul. That's what we are. And God has come back to redeem us if we choose it. But you have to choose it because there's no other way. And that's the power of choice. You have been given the authority through the Christ consciousness to do it. If you don't accept it, that's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do accept it, the path is going to be made clear for you to receive your royalty because we all are priests of a royal divine nature that God has already established before the beginning of time.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I hope people can grasp what you just said because a lot of people don't go that in depth into understanding that and everything like that. So I think that that's powerful and a powerful message that people will gain from that they'll gain from the book. Now, can you talk about? Can you give us three keys? One to writing such an impactful book, but then also let's talk about people and understand, like I just mentioned, understanding that power of choice and what that is for somebody who may not quite understand it. Can you talk about those three keys and then the impact of the power of choice?
Well, to me, one of the first keys is to trust God.
Mm-hmm.
The way to trust God is to first recognize that Everything in creation was created for a purpose, and that purpose is inside of you. You don't have to go find it, you have to discover it.
Mm.
But everybody's looking in the wrong place. It is inside of you. So you have to understand that we can not lean on our own understanding without acknowledging God's guidance. That's one of the most primary essential things, because my father says and has always said to me over and over again, first things first, first things first. And when he says that, I find in the scripture it says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness. And that means, and its right thinking, and all else will be added unto you. So I asked God a question about what's going on in the world, because it seems like money seems to rule everything. Every time I
Mm-hmm.
turn around, people are talking about money, this, money, that,
Right.
and it got so bad the way they wrote a song, "Cash rules everything around me."
Mm-hmm.
Cream get the money, dollar
Right.
dollar bills, y'all. And I'm like, come on now,
Yep.
God rules straight out. That's it, nothing else. So I was like, Lord, talk to me. How do we control this situation with this cream factor? And
Mm.
what came to me, I was told sugar. And I was like, huh? I said, sugar. And I was like, what does that mean? And what I received was succeed, understanding God's absolute reign. Succeed, understanding God's absolute reign.
Mm.
That acronym is sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, well, hey, we got cream and sugar. You got a cup of coffee
You
there.
got some right
Yeah.
there. And I've heard that before too. But here's what I did with cream, because
Really?
yeah, by Wu Tang Clan. But here's, I replaced with cash. I replaced it with Christ. Christ rules everything around.
That's
Boom.
right.
So you have another
That's right.
another mindset another mindset with it. I love the sugar. I love the sugar analogy though too. That's powerful. But
But
like you said, when you have cream and sugar,
I'm telling you, God gave it to me, and it's amazing. We People don't recognize that the importance of meditation and
mm,
prayer.
mm,
Prayer is when we talk to God,
right?
but meditation is when you listen.
Mm,
And people
I like
are
that.
in such a place now of, yeah, running back and forth, the hurry, scary type of thing. We don't find the time to sit and listen to God.
Mm,
But when you do, you attune yourself
mm,
to the alignment of
yes,
actually hearing
yes.
what the vibration of living thought is. One of the things I speak of. One of the reasons why the other book, the Extraordinary Epiphanies of a King, was written is because I want people to understand that when you allow yourself to be in alignment with God's will, you can hear from God just as easily as you think. So your thoughts are not always your thought. Sometimes the devil is trying to put something in your head,
Mm,
because we see that when we see the activity out here in the world today.
mm,
But living thought is what began all of creation. And it is thought comes first before a thing.
mm.
And living thought will speak to you and speak through you and allow you what's necessary to write an impactful book.
Wow, I'm thoroughly enjoying this. And you said something that I don't think a lot of people understand, and no matter what the religion. But you said there's a difference between prayer and meditation, and you taught me something, because I'd never thought of it in those two dynamics. Yeah, pray, I thought you prayed and you listened, but I never thought of meditation in the terms of, okay, Lord, I've talked to you. Now I need to listen to you. The prayer is me saying, okay, Lord, these are the things that are on my mind. These are the things that I am coming to you. Like you said, you came asking questions.
Yes.
But then after you ask the question, you have to listen for the answer. And many of us don't listen for the answer. We're just going, okay, Lord, I done told you everything that I need to tell you, but I'm not listening to hear what you have to say back to me. And I think that when we meditate and when we listen, I think we can hear clearly whether we like it or not, because there are going to be things I believe that God tells us that we're going to like, and there are going to be things that He tells us that we're not going to like because we don't. It may not be what we think is the answer, but it's His answer for us. And I've always said that you have to trust His answer, not our answer that we may necessarily want. Because I tell the Lord all the time, I say, you know what you're doing. This is on you. I'm asking you, and I'm asking you to guide me. So I have to trust what it is that you say. If you say no, then it's no. And I have to understand that yeah, I might have wanted it. I might be disappointed, just like we did when our parents told us no, we couldn't have something or we couldn't do something. We got disappointed. I think it's the same way with God. We get disappointed, but I would hope that we understand at the end of the day that what He has for us, and His will for us is nothing but what's best for what He knows is best for us. You know, and
Yeah.
everything like
See,
that.
I'm a spiritual life coach also, which I
Okay.
didn't mention earlier.
Mhm.
And the key behind that understanding is in meditation, we go back to recognizing that the puma is breath. And in the beginning, God breathed life
Mm-hmm.
into man,
Yep.
and man became a living soul.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is the breath that you have to recognize because everything is vibration and frequency. So once you put your petition out there, you have to recognize that God has already given you authority over darkness because all God wants is your greatest and your highest good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in your breathing, you have to focus on breath. And what I do is I focus on the breath of life because it's not just breath, it's the breath of life. And I bring it into me
Mm-hmm.
because that's what God desires of it. And in it is God's message. And I allow that to come inside of me to live and 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 plant itself and vibrate to allow me to have the feeling of recognizing the guidance that is given me. And that guidance, you're going to feel there's an emotional guidance um, system that's from the highest point of love, passion, joy, to fear, anxiety, insecurity, blame, frustration. And when you're meditating and you're looking for your answers and you're looking for the guidance, you have to measure what your feeling vibration is and find that space that is the best place, then you can activate.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I like that. I like that. Now, what advice would you give for an aspiring author, that someone who wants to write and feel they have a message to say? What would be your advice to
I would say start writing. Grab a pen
them?
and use the ink in it. Because if you're not using the ink in it, then that pen's going to waste.
Mm.
And that's going to be your fault. So I'm crazy enough to, if I see a pen on the floor, on the ground or something, I pick it up because I'd be like, "Oh, look, there's a pen." Because inside of that pen, there's ink, and I can make an impression. Make that impression right there, at the time in which you have been given the pen, and thought is alive. All you have to do is relax and let thought come to you.
Mm.
That's it. Relax. People don't relax when like those people who feel
Yeah.
pressure to write.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
they they're all tensed up and carries on. How you going to write anything if you all tensed up?
Right. Absolutely.
Just relax. That's the key ingredient behind meditating in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
You meditate, you breathe, and when you align yourself, because that's what meditation is going to do for you,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to align yourself with living thought, and you think on these things: love, harmony, peace, the good things of your life. And those things, as you think on these things, the things that come knocking on your door that's trying to distract you from it, if they stay knocking on your door, write it down
Mm.
because there's a reason why it's knocking at your door.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay? You already writing now. You writing because boom, there it is. So meditate, relax. Something's gonna come. Ain't no doubt about it because you are wired for that. You are wired for it. Make it happen. I laugh because years ago I was in a movie, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Um, Samuel Jackson and Bruce Willis was here in Baltimore,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
yeah, and it was crazy because one of the things that got me starting to write was looking at Bruce Willis and it was Sybil Shepherd. They was in a movie in a television series called Moonlighting,
Yeah, I remember. I
and
remember.
yeah, right. And Bruce Willis always had a way of thinking things through things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Sybil Shepherd had her way of thinking through things, and the combination of the two of them,
Right.
they was always solving crimes, always solving issues, always solving problems. And I looked at this movie, I looked at the show, and it was like it's a matter of perception.
Mm-hmm.
One person perceiving things one way, another person perceiving things another way. But when we come together with our perceptions of things, recognizing that all things fit together and in its place, because that's the divine nature of God, that's exactly what's going to happen. If you allow it to flow, it's going to go. When you put resistance to it, you're going to feel resistance through it. And you may not even get to the other side. So quit resisting.
Absolutely, and that is so true. Absolutely, absolutely. Now, what's next for you? What are you working on? What are you working on now, or what do you have going on outside of the book?
Well, my plan is to become a international speaker.
Okay.
That story of um, the 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 war in heaven
Mm-hmm.
in conjunction with the beginning of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Oliver North. Every experience we have is for our future. Doesn't matter what it is. If a hammer fall on your toe, your future is going to be the pain of the hammer that fell on your toe.
Yeah, that's for real.
Okay, so you're going to have to experience that, and you're going to have to live through that. What happened before the hammer fell on your toe? It doesn't matter. Like in the Lion King, the Rafiki, the baboon came along, hit the Simba in the head, and he said, "What was that for?" He says, "It doesn't matter. It's in the past." So every experience is for our future.
Mm.
So everything that has happened in my life, I know it is to be shared. We're on a planet of 7.8 billion people. We all have different experiences and expressions. There's a statement that was written years ago by a man by the name of Judge Thomas Troward. And he said, divine operation is always for expansion and full expression. This means the production of something that has not gone before,
Mm-hmm.
something entirely new, not included in our past experience, but proceeding out of it by an orderly sequence of growth. We are all here as a continuation of creation. You must accept that and move in that vibration. If you're not moving in that vibration, then you have chosen the darkness and not the light and not the love of God. So in the scripture, it tells us, behold, I make all things new. And it's not only in Genesis, I mean, it's not only in Revelations, it's in Isaiah as well, and a couple other places in the scripture. But we are so caught up in tradition when we look at how we are a conditioned creature. We can't break the pre programming. We can't break the programming. We can't break the conditioned mindset. And I need to get out into the world to let people know that they got to let go and let God. Because it's not really about religion, it's about spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's in the word, spirit, you all. We all are spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And everything begins with a thought. And from and through that thought, we can know the way. And in knowing the way, we can act the way. And when we act the way, we can be the way. And when we be the way, then we can cultivate and grow others to do the exact same thing. And we all move forward in the beauty and harmony of life and love. So mine is to become a world renowned speaker and just let the world know the truth, because the spirit of truth is known as the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost. And people have scared people about the Holy Ghost and the Holy Spirit and all of
Mm-hmm.
that, when it's all about the spirit of truth, because it is the truth that will set you free. And the only book I've come across that speaks of the truth and the spirit of truth is the Bible. But people don't understand the Bible because they have made the Bible a religious document, when in actuality it's a covenant with man to understand what God is communicating to us. As we listen to the spirit of truth, we will better come to understand that God is operating through us.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. Now, how can people contact you? One, to purchase the book, but then also, like you said, to be a speaker. If someone wants to have you come and speak, whether it's virtually or once we're able to in person or anything like that, how can they connect with you?
Well, my website is kingsphilosophy.org, and that's where you will find my material, the book. The website will also guide you to the organization, the Souls of Life Society. And my first and last name is King, King. The last name is spelled T as in Thomas, EAS, or you can just you can split it up in two parts, four letters on both ends. If you got green tea, orange tea, red tea, whatever tea, when you put them all together, you got teas. So TEAS, okay?
I
And
like
my
that.
last name, yeah, and the other portion of my last name is Dell, like the farmer in the Dell. I had looked years ago to describe what my name actually means, and I had to separate it to find out that it is one who seeks the hidden flow of the waters in the valley. So that's what Teasdell means. So my first and last name at gmail.com, you can send me an email and put in the uh, subject section, I need you. I need you now. And so my first and last name at gmail.com, and my phone number, you can leave a message, is 410-419-1226. That is my business phone. I'm not always available for that line, but I am always listening to the messages. So 410-419-1226. So those are the three ways to reach me. And if by chance you're having a problem with the website or anything like that, give me a call, leave me a message. You can text me, leave me a message there. You can send me an email at kingteasdell@gmail.com, or you can type in www.kingsphilosophy.org.
Absolutely. Now, can you give it? I'd like for you to just end this. Give us a final word of wisdom, just about from if you can, the power of choice. Just something about the power of choice to close us out, and then I'll give the closing information that we need for the National Black Community News.
All right, I'm going to allow Spirit to throw me inside of the book here, the ebook, The Power of Choice. Because what's interesting about The Power of Choice, it describes the beginning of when confusion came into the world
Mm,
that people don't understand.
mhm,
And one of the biggest things that I find it's a problem with a lot of Christian based ministries is that they hear words that come from different languages, but don't understand that they're speaking of the same thing that everybody else is speaking of.
mhm,
So, because you hear a different word, that doesn't mean that they're speaking a different position that you exist in, because there's only one self. So, I say, first and foremost, know that we are pre programmed to disagree because of our individuality, which is not a bad thing, only inappropriately interpreted. But when we become conquerors in truth through the knowledge of strength in knowing our power of choice, we transform.
wow. Yeah, I can't say enough. This has just been just a joy to be able to talk with you. This has been King Teasdale, and I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your information that you have, your message that you've come with, and showing us the power of choice and the power of the choice that we do have within ourselves, and learning ourselves, but not just uh, asking questions, but also listening for the answers. Because in the listening, we get the answers, but you have to be willing to listen. You have to be open to listen to everybody. So I appreciate
Yes,
you.
yes. And I want to give a shout out to the person who allowed me the opportunity to come this far. It's a friend of mine by the name of Joanne Meekins.
Okay.
She can be reached at www.inspiredforyouministries.com.
Mm,
Um, inspired as you would write it out, and then it's I'm sorry, for you, which is the letter four and the letter U,
mm,
ministries, or inspired, the letter four, the number four, the letter U, publications, because she's the one who enabled me to get these published. Without her, I'd still be thinking about it.
thank goodness for those that we have in our what I call our circle of impact that push us sometimes, that give us that nudge that we need, that confidence, even that confidence that we need to be able to move forward in what it is our purpose. and what God has for us to be able to do. Because what I tell people all the time is, and I said it earlier, that this has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us. It has all about to do with what God wants to do through us and the message that He has for somebody else, and who are we to hold on to something that God has for somebody else through us. So
Yes, and Leroy, I appreciate you. This was really enjoyable experience for me. Thank you so very much, and I thank those who support you in this endeavor, and of course, David Murphy. We know he's right on
absolutely.
it. So we give thanks, and I appreciate you, Leroy. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So this has been the Author Showcase, y'all. The National Black Unity News. You can go to again www.tnbun.com to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to the newspaper. You actually have the current issue that is out. You can actually get that. Subscribe to get the current issue, which has brother King Teasdell in it. Along with the other authors that are part of the showcase. You can go over to our Facebook page as well, like the Facebook page, and then you can go over to our YouTube channel and watch other great authors that are part of the showcase, like Brother King, and just have you can just get a plethora of knowledge, a plethora of information that they share, the messages that they share, which I think it's been a joy for me to sit down with you all, with each of you authors, to listen to you all, to learn from you all, and to hear from you all. And I hope those that view it, that watch the showcases, that they get as much joy out of it as I do in presenting it, and as much joy as I have with having conversations with you all just about everything that you all have, and giving people more than just, like I said to you before, about the book. They know they get to learn more about the author. They get to learn some backstory, so that when they do go to purchase those books, they remember the stories that you all tell. They remember the testimonies that you all give, and the lessons that you all may be teaching as they go through as they go through the book. So I thank you once again. This has been 2020, y'all. This is 2020. We move fast and furious. We move with purpose and passion. And as I always say, you build the impact, because when you build the impact, you change the world. And we have authors such as King Teasdell that are changing the world by one word at a time, one book at a time, and by one choice at a time. So I thank y'all. We'll talk to y'all soon.